Welcome to this Sunday service of the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Durham, North Carolina. I'm Reverend Jacqueline Brett, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race, your gender, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you here to this beloved community. And if you are visiting with us today, we would love it if you would enter your name or introduce yourself in the chat box at this time, and someone will surely welcome you there. And we also invite you, if you're visiting or if you're new and you want to find out more about ERUUF, to join us for the Inquirers class, which allows you to find out about our congregation. It takes place at 12 noon on Zoom, and information on how to access that class will appear in the chat box. In addition, at 11:30 a.m., we have directly after this service, we will have a virtual coffee hour, and everyone is welcome to join us there. Both Reverend Cayer and Bonnie, our board chair, will be at coffee hour to meet with you today, should you wish to. I am just catching up here. So, today is a very notable Sunday for all of us here at ERUUF for two very special reasons. First, it is the final Sunday of our annual pledge drive. If you have not yet had an opportunity to participate, we certainly hope you will do so today, and you'll find out more about how you might do that later in our service. In addition to our pledge drive, today is especially momentous for us as we all join in celebrating the 25th anniversary of the ordination of our lead minister, the Reverend Deborah Cayer, into the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Several special guests will celebrate with us, and Reverend Cayer will be our preacher today, as she often is. But today she'll be reflecting through the lens of her ministry where we've been and where we might go. The music today is provided by Kate Lewis on piano. Jocelyn Neal is our cantor. And we'll also have a presentation from the Eno River Singers. Today's tech team is Jenny Jolly and Michelle Sager, and Scott Gaskins is our sound engineer. So let us all center ourselves in this time and in the place where you are. We are all interconnected together. And let us all take a deep breath in and let it out. We continue our service now with the prelude.
Good morning, ERUUF. It's good to be with you. I am here celebrating with you. Let me share with you some words from the first woman whose ordination was actually recognized in the Unitarian denomination. Her name was Olympia Brown, and I'll share these words. Stand by this faith, work for it, and sacrifice for it. There is nothing in all the world so important as to be loyal to this faith, which has placed before us the loftiest ideals, which has comforted us in sorrow and strengthened us for noble duty and made the world beautiful. I am celebrating with you, and I'm honored to do so. The 25th anniversary of the ordination of Deborah Cayer was a great moment in our tradition. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I always tell my interns that there are three things you want to be sure of. One is, no, it's not all about you. Number two, no, there's always more help if you know how to ask for it. And number three is love your congregation. Always love your congregation. Deb represents all three of those things. She has been absolutely a person who is giving and thoughtful of others, humble, and very seldom ever allows herself to be in the center of her considerations. She also teaches, she's taught me and many other people that we have other resources we're not yet aware of, and that we should tune into them, talk with them, check in. Deb and I have been checking in with each other since 1999. And while we lead two of our larger congregations in the South, we have often, when befuddled, picked up the phone and said, "You got a minute?" And number one, a minister must love their congregation. Love them when they're not particularly nice or attractive. Love them when they're brilliant and amazing. And love them just because they are. And Deb has done that fully every place she has been. Do you know that woman actually commuted like 5 hours to go to Harvard Divinity School each way every week? You know, people like Deb inspire us. But for me in particular, she delights me as my good friend. And on this 25th anniversary of her ordination, I celebrate with you, ERUUF. And let Deb know how brilliant, humble, kind, and connected she has made us by her example. Thanks, Deb.
A lifelong sharing, adapted from words by Mother Teresa. Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service.
Whatever from we are able or disabled, rich or poor, it is not how much we do, but how much love we put into the doing.
As the chalice is lit this morning at ERUUF, we celebrate with you.
These 25 years of your ministry and your lifelong sharing of love with us and with others.
Thank you, Grandma.
Congratulations.
We love you.
Congratulations. Love you.
Congratulations, Grandma. We're so happy for you. We love you and miss you.
Hi, Grandma. Surprise. I wanted to say congratulations on your 25 years of service. You are hands down the most inspiring and compassionate person I know. So it's crazy that I get to be so lucky to call you family. We are all so fortunate to have you. And personally, as I've grown up, it's been incredible to watch you impact communities and people's lives. I hope you take some time today to, reflect on your journey, and you deserve every second of recognition and thanks that you get. So I love you.
Our first hymn this morning is Come Thou Font of Every Blessing. We invite you to join as Jocelyn Neal leads us in song. The words will appear on your screen. The hymn will be followed by members of ERUUF reflecting on what they're looking forward to as they imagine the future when we're all back together again.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hope of life's perfection fills our hearts with joy and love, teach us ever to be faithful. May we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young lamb dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of war fall silent, feel our love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come thou fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher ways. Lift our gloom and desperation, show the promise of this day. Help us bind ourselves to union, help our hands to love our love. With thine aid, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
Thanks. I am so looking forward to seeing people in person at services and other things. And I think our campus is really beautiful, and I'm looking forward to being back on campus routinely. We did vote there in November, and I was so excited to have a reason to be on campus just for that. I think our sanctuary is also a very beautiful space, and I'm looking forward to being able to be inside the sanctuary for services. Also love the music program, and there's some hymns that you never hear anywhere else unless you're at a service at ERUUF. And so I'm looking forward to that, singing them, even though I can't sing. I'm going to sing them. I think that, yeah, those are the main things. And also hugs. Flynn, I will give you a hug anytime. Anybody who wants one. Thank you.
And so I'm imagining someday when we can open church back up in person, and I'm imagining the really kind of happy version of that, like the celebratory version of coming back together for the first service. We can be together, and what that will feel like, and what it'll feel like to be like, oh, we're back, oh, you know, and dusting off all of the social awkwardness of a year of isolation and just reconvening. So that's number one. In another really specific way, I'm looking forward to my children resuming OWL, which I think is like, I mean, talk about transformation. I am such a huge OWL proponent. Even though my children aren't always super stoked about it, I know that it is the vegetables they need in their spiritual, emotional, physical, social development. And I'm also looking forward to my oldest going through coming of age. So those are some things I'm really excited about for my immediate family and for ERUUF in general.
I am actually looking forward to seeing how ERUUF is going to learn from this experience and how we're going to incorporate sort of the good things that I think we've learned as a result of this pandemic. So, for example, I think the online services, while in many ways they aren't, you know, there can be something that's missing. I think it's a great way to reach people that can't make it there all the time. And there are many people that are home bound and or older folks, or even folks who live far away who would like to join us and can't. And I really hope that that's something that ERUUF continues. And I'm going to be very interested to see how that all plays out. I'm also looking forward to seeing how how ERUUF can sort of rethink meetings and things like that in a way to kind of continue minimizing our carbon footprint. I think one of the things we have learned is that while it is very nice to be together, we don't always have to be together all the time. We don't have to drive places all the time, that there are other ways of sort of doing the work. And so I'm going to be somewhat intrigued to see how ERUUF changes when we have options, when we come through this all and we have choices. And I hope we are going to take some of the things that we've learned from the last year and continue to apply those.
So I think on the other side of this, there will be lots of joy, but I think there is a unbelievable amount of trauma that we have had as a society. And I truly hope that ERUUF has arms that are big enough to give us all hugs, because the challenges that people have had from losing their routine, what they know, has been huge. And so I just, not to be a pessimist, but to be honest, that we will thrive if we can all heal together.
Well, whatever we can do to make ERUUF the campus, the location, the space, you know, as inclusive and welcoming as possible will be important. Because first and foremost, I think, you know, as we've heard previously, just being out in the world is going to be, you know, so many folks are looking forward to that. We're going to have to acculturate ourselves back to just being in each other's spaces. And so whatever ERUUF can do to be you know, a physical destination where people feel, you know, welcomed and loved, that's going to be very vital.
An ordination is one of the most important traditions of our faith. It is both an initiation from layperson to clergy and a formal recognition of entry into service as a Unitarian Universalist minister. And thus was the Reverend Deborah Cayer ordained on March 3rd, 25 years ago. Deb, it is with great delight and joy that today we who are your family, your colleagues, staff, and all who are the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship mark with you this important milestone in your ministry. And because we all were the recipients of some important news from you this past week, I want to emphasize to you and everyone else that today we are celebrating your anniversary. We are not celebrating a departure. Just saying.
Amen.
We are looking forward to the coming year when we will continue to share in this ministry with you and benefit from the fruit of your leadership, your wisdom, and your kindness. So let us continue then in celebration and with love. And I so wish I could hug you right now, but I can't.
Thank you.
Hello, friends. I am honored to be a part of the chorus that's recognizing the Reverend Deborah Cayer's 25 years of ministry. As the Angus MacLean Professor of Religious Education at Meadville Lombard, our Unitarian Universalist Seminary in Chicago, I am well aware of how exquisite ministry changes people and systems. Reverend Cayer, as both a prophet and a pastor, has been a champion for the moral and spiritual growths of all of us here on this campus and beyond. When I was asked to speak in celebration of this moment, I started to do a thought experiment. I imagined a young person just starting to put all the pieces of life's puzzle together. The young person that's trying on what's right and ethical. The young person who takes great comfort in what their peers think and do. And even if they don't want to say it, they're noticing what's happening among the adults that surround them. I was thinking how fortunate that person is to come of age under the embodied leadership of Reverend Cayer. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King famously spoke of being maladjusted for the purposes of resisting a status quo that privileged morally warped traditions and social practices. He spoke of building a new world, a beloved community that valued people over things, that worked to be egalitarian in how we practice respect, compassion, love, and equity. You know, when we dream about such a world, it's hard to imagine what it looks like, but thanks to you, Reverend Cayer, our young people and the young at heart get a glorious opportunity to act into their future selves. They get weekly dress rehearsals for how to be maladjusted for the sake of equity, love, and justice. They get to practice how to be their better selves, and when they miss the mark, your ministry and leadership has shown them how to start over and over again. So, Reverend Cayer, I want to join the chorus in celebrating the path you set, not only for this congregation, but for all those who share this community's commitments and dreams for a better tomorrow and a better world. Thanks for modeling a form of maladjustment that helps us resist the status quo. Thank you for creating spaces held by ethical structures and systems and accountabilities, where our people can retune their hearts, minds, and spirits. And most of all, thank you for reminding us that love nor imperfection have boundaries, that our work is to trust in the power of possibility, for it always pulls us toward the people we hope to become. Thank you for sharing the blessing that is you.
Reverend Cayer, in the June 2nd, 2011 edition of Currents, ERUUF's former newsletter, you wrote, and this is slightly adapted, quote, "What's absolutely needed is for everyone who loves this fellowship to look around, find some small part of it to call their own, and connect with others who are already finding heart and meaning in the same area. This isn't about doing more for the sake of doing more. It's about stewardship, making the most of the abundant resources that are in our hands and in our care. It's about finding more connection and more compassion with each other. And in the process, it's about developing more richly textured lives because of our shared ministry. This is what's really needed for ERUUF to realize its vision."
You continued,
Quote, I believe I can help you find simple, appropriate ways to go deeper with one another and to make more connections with the larger community. I know this is actually a bit scary because it asks us to reach out beyond our comfort zones. But if we don't do this, who will? To me, it's not an option to sit back and rest on the abundant gifts, hopes, and dreams that we have been put into our hands in our care.
From the very beginning, you called us to love in the form of service. You became our called minister in June 2011 and began to humbly and passionately lead us toward that vision of connection and compassion for each of us, for all of us together, to reach outside our comfort zone. Under your leadership, ERUUF began a journey towards transformation that we're still on today. We formed a change team. We joined together to learn more deeply about historic inequities and racial justice. And even in the pandemic, we're having beloved conversations, raising white awareness, and creating safe spaces for people of color. We're transforming hearts towards transgender inclusion, acting for fairness and equity in Durham, and working to bend the arc of the universe towards justice. You brought us here to this moment.
In love for you, Reverend Cayer, and in gratitude for all that you have brought to ERUUF and all your service before coming to Durham, ERUUF has chosen to honor you on this, your 25th anniversary of ministry. The Board of Trustees, on behalf of all at ERUUF, honor you with an expression of that wisdom shared with us as you contemplated being our lead minister. We offer our pledge to find simple, appropriate ways to make more connections and go deeper. Because if we don't do this, who will?
Reverend Cayer, we are grateful for your service, your leadership, and your tremendous commitment to guiding us to live more deeply into our principles as a justice-loving people. So in honor of your 25 years of service, this summer we are launching the 2,500 Hours of Love campaign. Members and groups will each be able to pledge 25 hours of their time for community engagement in Durham in support of racial equity over the coming year and document and share their experiences along the way. Our goal will be to log a total of 2,500 hours of service by June 2022.
On behalf of the entire congregation, we are thrilled to be able to offer this service in recognition and appreciation for your 25 years of ministry. There are many details to work out, so we're inviting everyone to stay tuned to eNews for more information. We are forming a task force that will lead us on an exciting journey and will be launching this campaign this summer. There will be a dedicated website and t-shirts, opportunities to build memories with each other and build connections within and beyond our walls, and many ways to share our stories and photos, all as we turn love into action. We look forward to it being an exciting and enriching experience for everyone.
We want to leave you with these words adapted from Amanda Schuber. In honor of the dreamers, those that imagine what we can be to and in this world, you are the wind that blows the sails of change, pushing us ever forward. May we revel always in your wisdom and hope that dares us to never stop becoming. May the work we do together strengthen our community and our world. May we heed the call to work towards justice. Together, we wield a powerful spirit that is strengthened by the gifts of all.
In addition to our pledge of service, we wanted to present you with this small physical token of our esteem and appreciation. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the entire fellowship, congratulations.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, everybody. I was told I need to show everybody. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's gorgeous. In honor of Reverend Deborah Cayer celebrating 25 years of ministry, with deep gratitude and appreciation from Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. It is a gorgeous flame. Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, everybody. We invite you to join us now in prayer, offered by the Reverend Cheryl M. Walker.
Good morning. Greetings from Wilmington, North Carolina, just down the road a piece near the ocean. I'm the Reverend Cheryl M. Walker, and I am thrilled this morning to be with you to help you celebrate this incredible day, 25 years of ordained ministry. Oh, I'm so happy for you. I am so happy for Deb. She has been not only one of the best colleagues I have, but also I consider her a friend. And now, let us join together in a time of prayer. Spirit of life and abundant love, you who calls us to love the world, you who calls us to be makers of peace and justice, you who call us to live in service to life. We are grateful on this day, on this special day, and every day that you called Deb Cayer into a life of ministry. And we are especially grateful that you did not take no for an answer. Through the many years, you have been her inspiration to serve the greater good of humanity. Through the hard times, when she may have questioned why she said yes, you have been there to whisper to her heart, yes, 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 you can. Yes, we can. Through the halcyon days when she remembers exactly why she did yes, and all seems well with the world, you have been there to remind her there is still more to do. Through the mundane days when she can only muster the energy to make it through that one day, you have been there to say, it is enough. Your best today is enough. Through the many joys, through the many sorrows, through the doubts, through the certainties, you have been with her and in her, and she has served life with beauty, grace, conviction, integrity, and above all, love. So we give thanks today for the blessing that has been and is and will be the ministry of the Reverend Deborah Cayer. We give thanks for her inspiration to us, not just in her words or even her deeds, but in her very presence. the way she has of holding us dear and close when we need someone to help us heal our souls. The way she challenges us not to settle for things as they are, but to dream of things as they could be, and to do the work of making those dreams true. The many ways she is fully present to us and loves us for who we are in this moment, even when we find it hard to love ourselves. Spirit of life, an abundant love, we give thanks to you for the gift of the ministry of Reverend Deb Cayer. May we all hear your voice calling us to love, calling us to be makers of peace, calling us to creating a world of justice, calling us to serve life itself. And may we, like Reverend Deb did 25 years ago, say yes. In the name of all that is holy. Amen.
Walk in strength, walk in grace, walk into the future. Carry your courage to a new day. As you go, carry close your roots, your sowing seeds along your way. On the precipice of a new creation, draw strength from where you've been, strength from all who've nurtured and lifted you up to higher ground. Walk in strength, walk in grace, walk into the future, beckoning on, still work to be done. Quiet mystery leads us to the questing, loving ministry is the voice of blessing. Blessed be.
Oh, gosh. And now I'm supposed to talk. I am so honored. I love, love, love the gift that you have chosen for all of us in our shared ministry in the coming year. Oh my gosh, I want the t-shirt. I can't wait to see what we do together in this coming year. As Bonnie has said, I mean, I know, and I just want to admit and acknowledge up front that, to get a letter this week and then to have this celebration today, it's odd.
And the timing was not great, and I, that just couldn't be helped. This was the time I needed to do this with the best of intention and for what I explained in my letter. But as Bonnie has said many times this week, it is not time yet to say goodbye. And I'm so glad that we have this coming year to keep moving forward into the future, all of us. Thank you, with strength and with grace and with love. So thank you for honoring me. The Reverend Gordon McKeeman he's the former president of Star King School for the Ministry, has said that ministry is everything that we do together, and that this is mutual, and that good congregations are actually what create good ministers, and good ministers create good congregations. So there's this back and forth and swirling around, maybe like in this beautiful flame that's swirling. Truly, in spiritual community, we are not responsible for ourselves alone, but we are also, in addition to that, responsible for each other and for what we create together. What are we doing with these gifts, these abundant gifts that have been given to us? This is part of what it means to be in covenant with each other. So I want to thank Reverend Jacqueline for planning and creating this gorgeous service that celebrates all of this. You know something about covenant. I am so grateful to have this chance to share this opportunity together. So thank you, participants and musicians and everyone on the tech team. Everyone, thank you. You come a long way, baby. This is what it was like when I came into Unitarian Universalist ministry. 25 years ago, all of our systems were set up for what was thought of as the typical Unitarian Universalist minister, and this was the model: a young, straight, white, cisgendered male in his 20s, maybe partnered, definitely no children. This hadn't been true for quite a while, but this was the model, and classes and schedules and internships and scholarships, everything was designed to fit the fairly uncomplicated life of this imaginary model student. The reality was that women, predominantly white women, had recently broken that mold. They had arrived in enough numbers to be noticed and to stir up some real resistance. And they had already begun the hard work of claiming their places and their ministries. I'm so grateful to that small cohort of women. I came after them, and I had an easier time entering seminary as part of what was suddenly a very large group of adults who were starting grad school after we had spent time in other careers. We were older, mostly female, and we had kids, and we had messy, messy conditions in our lives. While seminary welcomed us, the UUA was really not set up to. And they actually called meetings more than once to say that there were too many of us, that we would never get jobs, and that we were too old. This really happened. We were too old. I was 37, and they said we were too old. Being met with such a failure of imagination in some places was disappointing, and it was frustrating, and it made me all the more grateful for my mentors and teachers and everyone who helped, and so many did. I imagine that it must have been an even tougher experience, though, for people of color who could see very few Unitarian Universalist ministers of color ahead of them. It was a low point in our ministry. Around racial justice, and this was not the welcome that any of us had envisioned. These were not the conditions we had hoped to be stepping into, but we felt the call in many ways because of them. We were largely, there was no formal mentoring. We found informal mentors, wonderful, generous ministers who helped us, and we found each other, and we bound together, and we helped each other. And I would have never made it through were it not for the people in my small groups, the other ministers that I found my way through into ministry with. So what it was, though, that drew me and so many others to Unitarian Universalism is the way that liberal religion is open and it's evolving, and that it comes out of our experience every bit as much as it comes out of the spiritual wisdom that we inherit from all of the world's traditions. In our own Unitarian Universalist tradition, we expect to grow and change throughout our entire lifetime. We expect to leave behind a little bit of our own wisdom when we are finished. What also drew me was our long-standing commitment to racial justice. We, by then, were slowly learning that dismantling racism was less about where we famously marched, and though that's important sometimes, but that it's more of an inside job. That, as Shug says in The Color Purple, you have to get the white man off your eyeball in order to see anything at all. In some ways, for all of my ministry, I have been trying to find ways to do that, to get those white patterns of seeing off of my lenses, for myself and for others. Some other telltale signs of a liberal religious, or a religious liberal, are that we put an emphasis on what happens in this world, here and now. And we recognize a spark of the divine. However we experience it, whatever we call it, we know that it's something ultimate and essential, and we recognize it within every human being. Many of us experience this presence beyond humans as well, in nature, in animals, in the earth. And we experience it in many different ways, as love, as sacred presence, as a deep commitment to our community, as God. However we experience this, we recognize that there's something ultimately important that's going on that's larger than ourselves, which means that the sacred is right here, right now, among us, with us, in fact, needs us in order to move and get anything done in the world. This means that we are co-creators with the divine. And furthermore, science also tells us that we are part of an interconnected web of life. We are all in this together. So what all of this means is that every person has inherent worth and dignity, and that justice, equity, and compassion come out of this, and they matter here in this world, because we don't believe that the sacred is somewhere far away, somewhere distant and remote, and that what we do unto others, we actually do unto ourselves in this interconnected world. All of this is in contrast to religious conservatives who tend to believe that God was here and then just before departing left humanity with commandments to follow. According to this view, if we succeed in keeping those commandments, then we get to join God when we die. That's the reward. On the other hand, religious liberals tend to believe that we're on a journey with the holy right here, right now. And that's why we show up where we do and how we do. And we don't all believe the same thing about this, and that's just fine with us. What matters more is how we act, how we treat each other, especially the people whose worth and dignity has been disregarded. We don't have a common creed or even church councils that tell us who is worthy of belonging here. Rather, we create sacred agreements, covenants that include the sacred, a source of ultimate accountability. But unlike some secular covenants that rule people out of neighborhoods, say, our covenants seek to draw a wider circle, a circle that is as wide and as inclusive as possible for anyone who shares our values and our principles and wants to be here, who wants to call us out into a larger, more expansive place. It works both ways. My colleague, the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore, has written that in our tradition, individuals have lots of power, but we are wise to hold it with humility. She writes, we are asked to recognize that our power is shared with other individuals and with those called as partners in leadership within our communities. This is the dance of our congregations, sharing leadership, making space for new ideas, for change and transformation. She also says that while democracy is a cherished ideal among us, it's not about winning a vote so much as it's about honoring the voices of all and listening to the call of conscience. Unquote. Reverend Dr. Fenimore's remarks are part of a report by the UUA Commission on Institutional Change. She and other highly respected, experienced, diverse leaders were appointed in 2017, immediately after our UUA president and 2 other senior officials resigned in the wake of a hiring controversy that raised racial equity red flags, big, big red flags. And then other top UU leaders got into big conflicts and either resigned or were asked to leave. And in addition, the previous year, 4 of our largest congregations' assistant ministers, many of them ministers of color, were asked to resign. One of those congregations was here at ERUUF. And then in the midst of all of this, the UUA moderator, Jim Key, the lay leader with the most authority in our religious movement, a man who was beloved and respected. Very sadly, Jim died unexpectedly. So it was this precarious time, to say the least. And some of us wondered if the UUA would even survive. A lot of us cried. Some of us prayed. And that's when the Commission on Institutional Change was created, to study what was going on and figure out why we were in such dire straits. Their report is really important, and the board is going to be reading that together in the coming months. But they start by identifying current trends in religious life in America. They note that fewer people are participating in religious communities, a lot fewer. Young adults in particular are leaving or just not joining. Denominations, including Unitarian Universalists, are barely holding steady in terms of numbers. If our larger UU congregations weren't growing, our movement would be in real trouble. We have always been tiny, but we've lost nearly 200 congregations in the last 10 years. Startling. All of this is taking place amid the deep despair that young adults feel around economic inequities, and that people of all ages feel around climate crises and authoritarian threats to democracy. The Commission notes that the people who are attracted to congregations are not arriving in search of freedom to exert their individualism and argue about ideas. Today, people arrive with urgency, looking for a welcoming, open, inclusive place where they can hear how the wisdom of the ages applies to their daily lives. Many of these people are Black, Indigenous, people of color, or they hold other marginalized identities. For these folks, basic competence around equity and inclusion is standard in their schools, volunteer groups, and workplaces. And they expect it within a religious community, or they just won't stay. Here's something else that's interesting. In California, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, and Texas, white people are no longer the majority as of right now. By 2044, in a little more than 20 years, the majority of people in this country will be Black, Indigenous, or people of color. But even before then, as our economies increasingly become global and more people are going to have intercultural competence in order to succeed at work and at school. For Black, Indigenous, and people of color, the work of dismantling racism is to understand how racism has shaped their identity and how it impacts their ability to deeply, truly love themselves. The inner work is to interrupt that destructive story and replace it with a more accurate one, with a story that truly reflects their sacred inner worth and dignity. And the work for white people is to learn to recognize all the ways that racism endows people perceived as white with unearned privileges that come with enormous economic and social impact and benefit. This is so deeply entrenched in our identities and so much the lens that we look through that if we're white, we tend to fall apart and feel attacked when any of this is pointed out. And it's not just that we're being childish or weak or foolish. It's actually our worldview that's coming apart. We're fighting, it feels like, for our lives, for our sanity. And so it's crucial. We can do this, but it's crucial that we have something to replace that faulty lens. That's why liberal religious theology is so important. Theology shapes and organizes our understanding of the world and helps us make new meaning in ways that align with what's ultimately real and true, that inherent worth and dignity within each of us, that interconnectedness. It's not just that we thought that up, it's confirmed by science, it's confirmed in the wisdom that's been left to us by the ages, by the religious traditions through the ages. It's confirmed by our own lived experience. It's tested in community with each other when we have difficult conversations. That's what it means to be in a covenantal community. And we desperately need a liberal religious theology to replace those unconscious feelings of white superiority that our culture installs within every one of us in very different ways. But it's like our default operating system. We need a different operating system. That faulty model is so deeply embedded, too, within all of our institutions and within each one of us. An expression of it ranges from on one end, the overt hatred and violence of the KKK and the January 6th insurrection, that kind of just raw white supremacy, to the other extreme, when our individuals and institutions very nicely, very politely, very firmly crush the souls and spirits and civil and human rights of Black, Indigenous, and people of color in plain view, while unconsciously people stand around and watch, but can't understand or even notice what just happened. That was the difference that the death of George Floyd made, I think. For the first time, so many white people couldn't not see the white supremacy in action. We couldn't look away. We couldn't explain it away. We couldn't deny it away. Some have tried, but the majority from across the political spectrum saw it and were sickened by it and are demanding change. It's so important that here at ERUUF, our people of color group is leaning into self-care after trauma, leaning into resilience and healing and self-love, not just after this past year in general, not just after the past year, but also in general, because the impact of racism is that exhausting, that debilitating. And white people here are leaning in to learn about racial equity and inclusion and to begin dismantling racism by waking up and speaking up and making different choices. And here's the thing, we're doing all of this as a spiritual practice. It matters that much. Seeing the world's complexity instead of the illusions cast by oppression is an act of power. It takes a lot to be able to hold messy paradox, both and contradictions, but that is an act of resistance. And it's best described first by the people most affected. We've all got a piece of this, and we need everybody's piece. But the people most affected have got key pieces that no one else has, and they're not currently in the picture, and we need them. And so we center what they know. And then we invite everybody to bring what they know so that we can understand this situation as accurately and make different choices going forward. Learning what it means to hold ourselves accountable and then doing that is key. It's absolutely essential. In 2017, for instance, after our assistant minister left, our board reviewed personnel files and talked with racial equity consultants outside of the congregation. They also hosted listening sessions for members who had questions. They talked with me, of course. They couldn't share specifics with others, and neither could I, outside of, the board relationship. But we could explain our policies, and we could explain the procedures that we use. And then I also answered questions from colleagues who were also very concerned about what had happened here. We are brought up short at times at our broken places. And when that happens, we have a choice. We can take a bypass. We can cover up, we can chatter, we can put up a good front, we can play along, we can dance, we can create diversions. Or we can rage, and we can seethe, and we can have fights with each other about distracting things that ultimately are not constructive, that don't have a point, that have no lasting impact other than hurtfulness. Or we can just stop for a while, and we can mourn. We can face our sorrow, and we can mourn. And we can ask for help. We can pray for spiritual guidance and the grace to recognize it when it shows up. It's my experience that help always arrives when I ask for it. Of course, you don't ask the people who've been harmed. You begin with others who've learned, who are learning. I've learned to start in the right place with the right people and sources, and then stay alert and keep doing the work. And friends, I've learned to pray. I've learned to ask through prayer for help. Help always comes. Our liberal religious power is covenant. It's not that covenant keeps bad things from happening, but when tough things do happen, our covenants, our sacred agreements, are what bring us back together. Because that's where the sacred is. It's right here. It's in us. It's between us. It's among us. It's between us and the world. In the presence of the sacred, we listen as everyone shares their truth. We hold those complicated paradoxes. We express our sorrow and regret. We apologize if needed. We claim our joy. Don't leave that on the table. And we begin again with love. Our religious movement rises up and falls back in historical eras as needed. At times, the way we do spiritual community has almost vanished. It's almost disappeared from the world. Almost. But not entirely and not completely. Because there's always ultimacy in there somewhere. And when we've got the heart and the mind to locate it, that ultimate source will help us make great meaning and audaciously joyful plans. Which is why, no matter how battering the storm might be, we steer by our principles and our values, and we dig deep, and we find our hope, which is what's down there at the bottom of the bottom, which is where our heart sinks to when we think everything is gone. And we hold on to that hope. And we hold on to each other with confidence, hope, and love, no matter what. Sometimes even for 13 or 14 years, when we're very, very, very lucky. That's the good news, friends, a little bit of the good news that we make up together all the time. Blessed be, and amen. My co-conspirator.
I was cautioning her not to cry, and I've been trying not to cry this whole entire morning. Here at ERUUF, your annual financial pledge supports the work of this community for the coming year. And in doing so, you support our capacity to fully imagine and actually create what's next for our beloved community and for our work in the world. I encourage you to use the link you'll see in the chat box that'll take you directly to our website where you can make your annual pledge. And if you've already pledged, and if you're visiting with us and wish to show your support for this community, I invite you to use the second link you'll find in the chat box, which allows you to give an offering for this Sunday morning. Today's offertory music is a presentation of Mojuba, a Yoruba folk song of Nigeria, arranged by Brian Tate and performed here by the Eno River Singers.
We give thanks for the spirit of love and justice that blows through this community as music, as spirit, as deep connection, as caring. And we are grateful for all that it does to bind us together, and for all that it does to turn us, to make our circle wider, to welcome all who would join us, and that it calls us out beyond our walls to join our gifts with others in the world to work for justice. Blessed be. Amen. Oh. There is so much love and so much grace in this day, and we're going to sing about that now. Jocelyn is going to lead us in singing Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet
Hi, Reverend Deb. As your Tar Heel UU colleagues, we wanted to join in your celebration this morning because, first of all, we understand what it means to do ministry, how much sacrifice it takes, how much time and energy it takes, and the fact that you have been doing it for 25 years and very successfully is just an awesome accomplishment. So congratulations. We love being here to celebrate with you. And also, I want to say thank you for the ministry that you have done for us and with us as your colleagues, for being our mentor and a soul friend to so many of us. I am deeply grateful for the relationship that we have all built together. So thank you for that. And now others would like to say a few words as well before I close with our benediction. So I'm going to turn this over to Susan.
Deb, 25 years. What a wonderful long time. I can't tell you how much gratitude I have for you. And when thinking about all the time you have spent and been giving to others, you also have been giving to us in our monthly group meetings, which are very important. And three things came right to my heart. One is just how welcoming you are. You make us feel at home when we walk into your space, your congregation space, and we can breathe deeply, and you have made us feel that this also belongs to us, at least for that time. Second thing that came right to my mind is that you are often so grounded, and often I come very frazzled. And here I walk in, and somehow there's just something in your presence that helps me put my feet on the ground, take a deep breath, and know that I can go on. And third, I just want to say you are so wise. You're just like the wise woman, and I get that from you lots and lots. And there's so much else I could say to you, but those are the things that just my heart spoke and just brought right to the front today. So congratulations. We've all been gifted by who you are.
Deb, congratulations on 25 years of ministry, on your wonderful service to the Eno River congregation, and to being such a good, warm, welcoming colleague. I wish you many, many blessings in all of your future ministry.
Deb, I've got to echo exactly what Patty and Susan and James too were saying earlier. What makes someone a really great minister is not just the way they minister to and care for their congregation, it's also the way that they minister to and care for their colleagues, for us, your colleagues here in North Carolina. And I know I've experienced that personally in so many different ways. You were always there for me when I was the minister in Raleigh and would call on you for advice. And I appreciate that more than you could ever know. After I left Raleigh, you welcomed me with open arms into the ERUUF community and have opened the pulpit there at ERUUF more times than I can count. Collegiality and caring are knit into the very fabric of who you are, knit into the very fabric of your soul, Deb. And that's what makes you a great minister and a beloved colleague. Congratulations on 25 years and more to come. Blessings.
Deb, when I moved here about 2 years ago from Rhode Island, not too far from your first congregation in Sharon, Massachusetts, I didn't really know what to expect, but I wrote a cold call email to you, and you invited me into your space. And right away, I knew that I was a part of a beautiful collegial network in the Triangle and in North Carolina. And you helped me to feel right away that I would never be alone in this space. So I'm so grateful to you for all the times that you have helped me to discern what my ministry might be here in North Carolina, and all the times that you've created space for all of our colleagues to bear witness to the challenges and the joys of our ministry. 25 years, I continue to learn from you, and I hope that one day I can celebrate the milestone that you have accomplished today. Congratulations, and we love you so, so much.
Deb, congratulations on 25 years of ministry. My dog is in the background cheering on my remarks, so there's widespread enthusiasm for your work here in our household. But the milestone of 25 years is symbolic of a tremendous amount of achievement, and congratulations on that. And I am the last one to speak, I believe, and I've heard my colleagues speak very movingly and lovingly of you, and I can feel from their remarks that you have touched their lives deeply and in a very meaningful way. And that's a very powerful testimony to you and your work and your ministry. I'd like to thank you for what I am sure are countless acts of kindness and compassion and giving and helping others that you've committed over these 25 years. And I wish for you many more years of fruitful ministry as you look to the days ahead. Thank you.
These closing words are for you, Reverend Deb, and for all of those ERUFians that minister alongside you. As we look forward to this new year, let us begin by blessing the year that has just passed. For all we have learned, for all we have loved, and for all we have lost. For the quiet way it has brought us nearer to our destination of being that beloved community we seek to be. As we look forward to some kind of new normal, may the blessings released by our hands cause a radiance in newly unmasked faces. May our words have a prophetic edge that enables hearts to find their own truth. May the light of the Spirit that dwells within each one of us be both a guide and a shelter for the future that we are building together. Go in peace, my friends. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are singing 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 in the light of God. We are singing, singing, we are singing, singing, we are singing in the light of God. We are singing, singing, we are singing, singing, we are singing in the light of God. Siyahamba kukanyen kwenkos, siyahamba kukanyen kwenkos, siyahamba kukanyen kwenkos.